This story took place in an old library in the historic district of Savannah, Georgia. The building was over a century old, and its vast collection of books was said to hold many secrets. It was a quiet place where the musty scent of old paper and leather bound volumes filled the air, and the only sound was the faint rustling of pages. I was a college student at the time, working part time as a librarian's assistant. It was a job I enjoyed, sorting through books, helping patrons, and occasionally getting lost in the shelves myself. But there was one section of the library that always made me uneasy: the basement archives. The archives were where the library kept its oldest, rarest books, some dating back hundreds of years. The basement was cold, damp, and dimly lit, with long rows of metal shelves that seemed to stretch on forever. I rarely had to go down there, but one evening, just before closing, the head librarian asked me to retrieve a specific book for a researcher who had called ahead. I descended the narrow, creaky staircase into the basement, the fluorescent lights flickering as I entered. The air was thick with the smell of mildew, and the silence was oppressive. I found the aisle I needed and began searching for the book, running my fingers along the spines until I found the one with the correct title. As I reached for it, a cold draft brushed past me, sending a shiver down my spine. I glanced around, but I was alone. The book was heavier than I expected, bound in old, cracked leather. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, and there was something unsettling about it, like it held more than just words. Just as I was about to turn and leave, I heard a faint whisper. It was so soft I almost thought I imagined it. But then it came again, more distinct this time, a low, murmuring sound, like someone speaking just out of earshot. I froze, my heart pounding, and strained to listen. The whispering seemed to be coming from deeper within the archives. I knew I should have left, but something compelled me to follow the sound. I walked slowly, cautiously, down the narrow aisle, the whispers growing louder with each step. They were coming from behind a row of shelves, in a dark corner of the basement that I had never noticed before. When I rounded the corner, I saw it: a small, narrow door, almost hidden in the shadows. The door was old, with a rusted iron handle and strange symbols carved into the wood. The whispers were louder now, almost urgent, like they were beckoning me to open the door. Against every instinct, I reached for the handle. It was ice cold to the touch. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dark room. Inside, there was nothing but a single wooden chair facing the far wall and a large, ornate mirror hanging above it. The whispers grew louder, filling the room, though I still couldn't understand the words. I felt a pull, almost as if the mirror itself was calling to me. I stepped inside, unable to resist, and the door slammed shut behind me with a force that shook the walls. I was trapped, the whispers now a cacophony of voices swirling around me. I looked into the mirror, and my reflection stared back at me. But it wasn't quite right. The eyes were darker, the expression twisted into something that wasn't mine. And then, as I watched in horror, the reflection began to move on its own. It smiled, a slow, sinister grin that sent a wave of dread through me. My reflection raised a hand, and as it did, I felt an icy grip around my throat. I gasped for air, but no sound came out. The reflection leaned closer, its eyes burning with a malevolent fire, and whispered something that I couldn't understand. But I knew it was a warning, or perhaps a curse. With every ounce of strength, I broke free from the mirror's grip and turned to the door, yanking it open. The moment I stepped out, the whispers stopped, and the basement was plunged into an eerie silence. I fled the archives, racing up the stairs and out of the library, the heavy book still clutched in my hand. I didn't stop running until I was far from that place, my heart still pounding, my mind reeling from what had happened. I never returned to that library, not even to collect my final paycheck. The book I had retrieved remained in my possession, though I never dared to open it. And sometimes, late at night, I could still hear those faint whispers echoing in my mind as if they had followed me from that dark room in the basement. To this day, I don't know what I encountered in that library, but I know one thing for certain: some doors are meant to stay closed, and some reflections should never be trusted.